Channel 2 News, because anything can happen in New York.
Good morning. It's the CBS Early Morning News for Tuesday, April the 30th. I'm Charles Osgood, and our top story this morning, Vietnam today is celebrating the 10th anniversary of the communist victory in the South. This morning in Ho Chi Minh City, formerly Saigon, a victory parade began at almost the same moment that 10 years ago today, the last American helicopter lifted off the roof of the U.S. Embassy. From Ho Chi Minh City, Liz Trotter has more.
The whole affair had a kind of homemade quality about it, starting with the 21-gun salute that was fired from American 105 howitzers. The flyovers were performed in Russian MiGs. And the goose-stepping infantry was strictly Vietnamese. The women marched wearing curlers in their hair. All the top brass were on hand, including Communist Party Secretary General Lê Duan and Prime Minister Pham Van Dong. Noticeably absent from the military delegation was General Vo Nguyen Giap, the architect of North Vietnamese military strategy, who is now out of favor in Hanoi. The rhetoric of the day was not much different from what one heard during the war, except that on top of everything else, America and China were being blamed for Vietnam's continuing invasion into Cambodia. A familiar face from the American peace movement was Dave Dellinger, not surprisingly an honored guest. Although thousands of Vietnamese turned out for the victory parade, there was little emotion or cheering, not even for Ho Chi Minh. Liz Trotter, CBS News, Ho Chi Minh City.
Hours before President Reagan is due to depart for Europe tonight, the House is scheduled to vote on a resolution calling on him not to include a stop at the German military cemetery at Bitburg in West Germany. Newspapers report that the White House is considering additional stops, including one at the birthplace of Konrad Adenauer, the anti-Nazi post-war chancellor. From the White House, Jacqueline Adams reports.
President Reagan leaves for Europe tonight, still embroiled in controversy over his decision to visit a West German military cemetery where 49 Waffen-SS troopers are buried. In an interview with foreign journalists, the president said going ahead with the visit was morally right.
All of those in that cemetery have long since met the supreme judge of right and wrong, and whatever punishment or justice was needed has been rendered by one who is above us all. And it isn't going there to honor anyone.
While away, Mr. Reagan will also have to cope with the Senate, as yet unable to come to grips with a compromised $50 billion deficit reduction package. The president yesterday asked visiting members of the Chamber of Commerce to help him, quote, knock some sense into the spenders.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please hold a few feet to the fire for me? And like the Gipper said, wherever I am, I'll know about it and I'll be happy.
As the president departs, the Bonn Economic Summit threatens to be overshadowed by the Bitburg Cemetery controversy, but another could yet surface. While the allies are discussing ways of easing trade sanctions, the president could decide to begin using trade as a weapon in his continuing campaign against Nicaragua's ruling Sandinistas. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, the White House.
Senate Republicans are preparing to bite the bullet today and risk a vote on President Reagan's budget. Majority Leader Robert Dole says he's still not sure if he has the votes to pass the package, but he's trying to head off a Democratic challenge to the section scaling back Social Security increases. Over in the House, Budget Director David Stockman testified in defense of another budget cut, the elimination of Amtrak subsidies.
To those who say that Amtrak can't be shut down, I would simply suggest this morning that you must complete the remainder of your sentence. And the remainder of your sentence, if you begin with that proposition, is that federal taxes must be massively increased. Because if we can't shut down Amtrak and save $700 million a year, I'm not sure what we can save in this entire $1 trillion budget at all.
House Republicans are staging a showdown today over the disputed seat in Indiana's 8th congressional district. The long-running partisan battle will come to a head when Republicans, hoping for the aid of conservative Democrats, try to declare the seat vacant. Tomorrow, Democratic leaders will try to seat Frank McCloskey, who won a recount over Republican Richard McIntyre by 4 votes. The Reagan administration is following up on a promise to eliminate minority hiring quotas used by state and local governments. The Justice Department has taken the city of Indianapolis to court to overturn the city's existing hiring quotas for women, blacks, and Hispanics. Earlier in the year, the Justice Department had asked some 50 state and local governments to voluntarily remove numerical quotas on hiring. Indianapolis says it will oppose the Justice Department plan. Benjamin Sasway is going to jail, and that is news because Sasway is the first man to be indicted for failing to register for the draft since the end of the Vietnam War. Supporters cheered the 24-year-old college student as he was led away to begin a 30-month sentence. And his father says that Sasway is not sorry.
We shall resist.
It is a statement for freedom and peace, and he feels very strongly about it. And it's an action that he really needs to pay the consequences for, and he's willing to do that.
Sasway is eligible for parole in 6 months. The 7 astronauts, 2 monkeys, and 24 rats are in their second day in space aboard the shuttle Challenger. Sandy Gilmore at the Johnson Space Center in Houston reports.
Tinny, scratchy sounds of martial music were broadcast from the Space Shuttle Challenger to signal the start of the second 12-hour shift about 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Commander Bob Overmeyer's team retired. The first shift was complicated by what NASA called niggling problems. The science airlock wouldn't budge, preventing astrological filming.
The outer hatch latch handle will not rotate quite far enough.
The water dispenser gave them trouble for a short time.
So far as we know, we did nothing to get it to work. It just all of a sudden started working again.
And they were unable to deploy the Pentagon's small satellite, though a satellite created by college students worked. But this is a science mission, experiments being conducted in near-zero gravity.
That's a very good picture, Don. Thank you.
We aim to please.
This is a microscopic mercuric oxide crystal in an oven, which scientists hope to grow more perfectly in weightlessness. No pictures were sent of the 24 rats and 2 monkeys, but their condition was described as good. The plan is for the shuttle to remain aloft for 7 days, landing next Monday. Sandy Gilmore, CBS News, Johnson Space Center, Houston.
New York City police say among the evidence they have in yesterday's $8 million Wells Fargo robbery are videotapes from hidden cameras. The FBI says it has concrete evidence in the case and that the robbers will be caught. 4 gunmen got away with $8 million in cash, and they left $12 million behind. A second major prosecution witness in the retrial of Klaus von Bülow, his stepson, is expected to testify today. Barbara Nevins of WCBS in New York reports that the prosecution's first key witness underwent a tough cross-examination.
Defense attorney Thomas Puccio tried to build a case against Maria Schrahlheimer, Sonny von Bülow's personal maid for 23 years. Puccio asked Schrahlheimer if she resented Klaus von Bülow because in the 1960s, Sonny von Bülow divorced her first husband, an Austrian prince, in order to marry Klaus von Bülow.
Never, that's not correct. Never, I never blamed him for that.
Schrahlheimer's testimony is central to the prosecution case that Klaus von Bülow tried to kill his wife by injecting her with insulin. Puccio poked at inconsistencies in Schrahlheimer's courtroom testimony of last week. He compared it to what she told the 1981 grand jury that indicted Klaus von Bülow. Why, the defense attorney persisted, didn't Schrahlheimer reveal until last week the reason Sonny von Bülow wanted to divorce Klaus von Bülow in 1979. Why, Puccio asked, didn't Schrahlheimer reveal that Mrs. von Bülow had a facelift when Schrahlheimer was specifically asked about Sonny von Bülow's medical history? In the end, the prosecution tried to turn the questions around to show that Schrahlheimer is a loyal servant.
I promised her never to talk about the divorce. I promised her never to talk about her facelift.
This afternoon, Alexander von Auersberg, Sonny von Bülow's son, is expected to testify against his stepfather. Barbara Nevins for CBS News in Providence.
And now, here's a look at the day ahead.
United Nations Secretary General Perez de Cuellar gives a major speech in honor of the 40th anniversary of the UN. And also in the news, this Tuesday, April 30th, the National Football League holds its 50th annual college draft.
Do you ever have one of those days when nothing goes right? Consider the plight of a San Antonio woman who got out of her car to mail a letter yesterday. As she stepped from the car, its transmission slipped into reverse, and for 2 hours, the car went around and around on its own until a policeman managed to jump in the front seat. A neighbor shot it all with a home video recorder.
Oh, they missed.
Isn't that bizarre? You can't ever get in the car and tell that lady, turn right here, right?
The chances of somebody having a home video recorder running to record that's a classic little piece of tape. I'm sure that'll be around for a while. Steve Baskerville's here with the weather.
Oh, it's almost like the weather. It's got us going around in circles, especially in south central Texas and beyond that, through Oklahoma, portions of Kansas. Still rainy weather, and some of that weather has been severe, but take a look at this morning's picture. Believe me, it is not the same picture I showed you yesterday morning. All the clouds almost in the same location, but a little bit farther north this morning, in through South Dakota, North Dakota, around the western lakes. Not all of that rain is really dismal and depressing and quite heavy. Some of it is showers and some very light rain around the western lakes. That's going to be the case just about all day. It's a very slow-moving line of weather that you'll just have to wait for the next 24 to 48 hours to move through. Now, if you know anybody who lives in Florida, you might want to give them a call and ask how the weather is there, because in Hollywood, Florida, in Miami and Tallahassee, all of those locations, at least 89 degrees yesterday afternoon and breaking records. But here's the way the rest of the country looks this afternoon as you take a look at today's forecast map. The East Coast, beautiful weather from New England all the way down to Florida. That ridge of high pressure guarantees it at least for another day. The outlook for the next couple, the weather to watch will be the flooding because of the rain in the central plains from portions of Oklahoma across western Illinois. Watch out for the early morning fog on the Pacific Northwest coast. That is a look at all of our weather. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts for some locations around the nation. San Francisco, it will not be the fog this morning, but sunny skies and 67 degrees later, 76 degrees and a pleasant afternoon in Los Angeles, 81 degrees and relief in sight for Fort Worth and Dallas, not stormy there. More word on how April makes its departure on CBS Morning News. Here's Charlie.
Thank you, Steve. And now Ken Pruitt's here with the latest news from Wall Street. Morning, Ken.
Morning. Stock market took a big hit as investors started to worry that the Federal Reserve might not ease interest rates after all. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged 15.5 points. It's back down to the 1259 level this morning. Not everything went down. The most active stock was Atlantic Richfield, up more than $5 a share on news of a sweeping reorganization plan. ARCO will shut down its retail operations in the East, buy back a lot of its stock. The dividend will go up by 30%. It's all seen as an anti-takeover measure, and some analysts think other oil companies may follow suit. Sales of new single-family homes went up 9% last month, rising to the highest level in more than a year. Better weather and lower mortgage rates made the difference. A new reading on economic activity is out today, the index of leading economic indicators for the month of March, the government's main forecasting gauge. The index was up sharply in the first 2 months of the year. In London this morning, gold is down 45 cents an ounce at $324.65. Silver is down 4 cents at $6.32, and the American dollar is trading stronger overseas this morning. Charlie?
Thank you, Ken. In sports, Dan the Torpedo's full speed ahead might best describe the outcome of yesterday's meeting of the USFL owners. The troubled league has voted to shift to a fall season next year, going head-to-head with the NFL. But they'll do it without the Tampa Bay Bandits. Owner John Bassett walked out of the meeting saying that he plans to form his own new league. In baseball, Billy Martin came back to the Yankees on something less than a bright note. The Yankees lost 5-7 at the hands of the Texas Rangers. Larry Parrish had 3 home runs, including the game winner for Texas, a 2-run shot in the 7th.
They're upset. They liked Yogi, and you can't get mad at a guy and be mad because they lost their manager. That's respect, and I appreciate that. But that doesn't mean that they can't turn their respect back towards me, and most important, towards the Yankees. It wasn't the owner or Billy Martin that got Yogi fired. The players did by being in last place.
We'll let you know if the Yankees ever get out of last place. Now here's Bill Gilliand with some more scores.
Okay, thank you, Charles. There was just one game in the National League. The Phillies beat the Expos in 10 innings. Back in the American League, the Royals won over the Indians by a run. The Blue Jays beat the A's by just 1. The Angels also edged the Red Sox, and the Seattle Mariners defeated the Brewers. And now on the CBS Early Morning News, here's today's weather forecast. Strong thunderstorms accompanied by heavy rain will cause some serious flooding problems across the mid-Mississippi Valley. Meanwhile, the East Coast will be sunny and warm today, while skies will be partly cloudy in the west. Here again is Charles Osgood.
And the CBS Early Morning News continues. Our top story, it was 10 years ago this day that South Vietnam fell to the communist North. In Vietnam, that is cause for celebration. Thousands turned out for a 3-hour military parade of Soviet-made weapons. Vietnamese leaders used the occasion to call for normalizing relations with the United States. President Reagan leaves tonight for Europe. Yesterday, he told foreign correspondents that his planned visit to the German military cemetery at Bitburg is morally right, and he will not change his mind about it. The House today is expected to call on the president not to go to Bitburg, where 49 SS combat soldiers are buried. Sectarian strife is flaring again in Lebanon. In Beirut, Muslim and Christian battled each other for the third straight night. In the south, Muslim forces pushed their drive against Christian villages as Israeli troops took up new positions a few miles from the Israeli-Lebanese border. In Moscow today, Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega said Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev pledged further support for the Sandinista government during talks yesterday. However, Ortega refused to say whether that support included a promise of more military aid. In South Africa, 2 explosions today wrecked the offices of 2 gold mining companies, which had fired nearly 18,000 black miners for striking. Only last night, one of the firms, Anglo-American Corporation, had agreed to rehire about 14,000 miners it had dismissed at the world's largest gold mine. Dartmouth College says it's selling $2 million worth of its holdings in companies that do business with South Africa. Students at campuses across the country have been demonstrating to get their schools to end such investments as a protest against apartheid. Dartmouth made the decision without its students protesting. The good ship Godspeed eased onto the River Thames this morning for a return voyage to America. Actually, this Godspeed is a replica of the wooden ship that brought the first English settlers to Jamestown in 1607. Like its ancestor, this Godspeed has only sails to power its 10-week crossing. There is one difference. The replica is skippered by an American, space scientist George Sally. Bon voyage, Godspeed. Time was when old fire horses put out to pasture would keep on answering fire bells. In Springfield, Kentucky, there's an elderly journalist who no doubt remembers covering fire horses, and he's still hard at work. Barry Burnson of WHAS-TV in Louisville reports.
In Springfield, Kentucky, since the turn of this century. And for most of this century, the man who's run the Sun has been J.S. Moran.
Good morning, Mr. Moran.
Mr. Moran is the editor emeritus now, but he still writes a weekly column of his own observations called Through My Bifocals. James Saunders Moran is 97 years old. He is the oldest working journalist in the United States.
Well, the actual getting and reporting news has changed very little. Of course, unfortunately, in my estimation, too many papers go in for sensationalism. I never did.
Earlier this month in Lexington, as if he needed any more milestones in his astounding career, J.S. Moran became the newest member of the Kentucky Journalism Hall of Fame.
Really, it all just seemed like a dream to go back over it.
Barry Burnson for CBS News, Springfield, Kentucky.
Stay with us. There's more ahead. In our footnotes this morning, Rex Harrison and Claudette Colbert won the hearts of New York's demanding theater critics last night. Harrison and Colbert share top billing in Aren't We All, a revival of a romantic comedy that debuted on Broadway in 1923. Another dynamic duo is waiting in the wings. Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly are pairing up in a made-for-TV movie to be aired in June. There'll be no dancing, though. Astaire plays the part of an old con man, and Kelly an old cop who get together for one last caper. And finally, Old Blue Eyes is back in town, but, says Frank Sinatra, the folks in Hoboken won't hear him sing. Sinatra is in his hometown to receive an honorary degree from Stevens Institute of Technology. Last year, Sinatra vowed never to perform again in New Jersey after a state casino official called him an obnoxious bully. Steve's back now with the regional weather.
I think it was with the Hoboken 4. Major Bowles discovered them.
Is that right? Is it?
I look much older than I.
You weren't one of the four,
No, it's more like the Texarkana 1 this morning as I look for any kind of storms around the country. It is not as bad as it may seem as you take a look at the radar, but this morning from Texas across portions of Oklahoma, you can hardly see western Arkansas and portions of Missouri if you can find it. Tyler, Texas, Texarkana, around Little Rock, Arkansas, those places will have rain throughout the next 8 to 12 hours or so. There's one big storm, but it will not affect the Northeast. If you live from New England all the way down to Delaware or Maryland, if you thought yesterday was good weather, wait until today. About 82 degrees in New York City, around 82 degrees in Salisbury, Maryland, 80 degrees in Pittsburgh. Nice weather all the way up to northern Maine. We don't see any rain in sight, though, because that's an area that really needs some of this rain. Most of it is lodged in the Ohio Valley and down through the Central Plains. Watch out for the flooding, especially across Missouri, portions of Kansas, and Oklahoma, because some communities have had as much as 2 to 3 inches of rain in several hours or so yesterday. So it still is lodged there, slowly moving in the direction that you're about to see. We're going to show you the clouds in upper portions of Oklahoma because that's where that storm will be centered this afternoon, and you can expect heavy downpours once more until that front passes by. The weather in Florida, the Carolinas, all the way up to Virginia, nice weather, at least 80 to 85 degrees, and they're breaking records in central and southern Florida like they did yesterday. It could be 90 degrees around Miami by mid-afternoon. The western story, only a few clouds here and there, 95 degrees in Las Vegas, 93 degrees in Phoenix. Watch for the desert Southwest especially to start breaking records. The temperature is going to soar in the next several days. Only a few clouds lingering around Seattle and Portland, Oregon, but nice weather generally throughout the Pacific Northwest. No snow, it's just too warm. No snow up in Barrow, but it's cold enough for that, 10 degrees there. Almost like a typical New England afternoon in Fairbanks, Alaska, 53 degrees, but make that typical New England in October because it will be breezy there. Now the weather for the islands, mostly cloudy today, but that's not a dismal afternoon at all. 82 degrees is kind of nice around Maui. Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, mostly sunny, rounding out at about 85 degrees. More word on all of your weather on CBS Morning News. Here's Charlie.
Thank you, Steve. Bill Curtis and Phyllis George continue on special assignment in Europe, and so Bob Schieffer and Maria Shriver will be along with the CBS Morning News. There'll be remembrances of Vietnam. Anti-war activist Tom Hayden and former Nixon aide Jeb Magruder will talk about their wartime activities. We'll meet 3 young people who are trying to keep the memories of their fathers alive. Also this morning, a talk with Rolling Stones magazine publisher John Wenner. Consumer reporter Betsy Ashton looks at what some call the medical McDonald's drop-in clinics. And Pat Collins reviews Burt Reynolds' new movie Stick on the CBS Morning News. That's it for this edition of the CBS Early Morning News. I'm Charles Osgood. Have a good one.
This is CBS.